In this business, you meet so many people from all walks of life. You acquire friends from on stage to backstage to producers, dancers, writers, comedians, theatre staff, audience members. And in this case, my next guest was an entertainment manager in the holiday park in the late 1990s. We bantered so much backstage, and after that season, we stayed in touch and have done ever since. We had and still have a strong bond through talking about comedy, sitcoms, stand-ups, reading biographies. We even went on a break together to the Edinburgh Festival where we saw nothing but comedy. Neil is an award-winning cabaret act in the Midlands, winning Entertainer of the Year countless times. Reviews have said Neil engages with his audience within seconds of walking onto the stage. His warm and genuine personality is an instant hit, and his Geordie banter has the crowd eating out the palm of his hand. Whilst Neil is a natural comedy performer, his real talents shine the second he begins to sing. With a strong, rounded voice of real quality, he effortlessly slips into swing classics with the charisma of a true Saturday night performer. Can I interrupt myself for a second there, please? That last paragraph, you probably would have noticed that I said effortlessly, uneffortlessly. It was quite difficult to get it out. And there are a couple of outtakes, which people normally leave for the DVD extras or the end of the show. I'm going to whack it in the show because it's my show. So this is how I attempted to say effortlessly or uneffortlessly. He effortlessly, effortless. Neil has been there for me on my tours and helped hosted charity events that I've produced in the past. He's a very giving guy, which makes me think he's not just a swinger on stage. But we could talk about that later. We talk about the acts working the circuit when we both join the scene. Talk about our favourite jokes, TV shows. So listen in this edition of Eyes and Teeth as I let you in on a normal phone chat with my mate, Mr. Neil Warner. I'm going to call this podcast episode Warner Brothers because there's a couple of mates that I get on with so well that we are really like brothers. I'm in the water acts, we call ourselves brothers, and some of them like in the 90s, but they're still your brother, you know. Neil's not 90, he's the same age as me, but he's the Warner. I call him Warner Brothers because he's Neil Warner. But you're hello, Mr. Neil Warner. Welcome to my sound box.
Hello, Mr. Steve Warner.
How are you, sir? I guess I'm now Steve Hewlett Warner.
Oh, Steve Hewlett. Oh, yeah, of course you are. Oh, yeah, we can roll with that, Steve Hewlett Warner. Double barrel it. It'll be big for your posters. Will it get on?
No, I'll edit that. Oh. Steve Warner. And I think I know a Steve Warner. Neil, how are you, mate?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm getting through lockdown slowly but surely.
Well, we all are, aren't we? Slowly, but hopefully, surely. Now, I last worked with you where you done that brilliant lockdown in Leicester. That was all day you were doing that for. It was 6 hours, wasn't it? But you must have rehearsed for 6 hours.
To be honest, we didn't. The guy I was doing it with, Ian, it's a local charity, Loros Hospice. The guy I know put it all together and put acts on. We were sort of like the anchors.
What did you say?
Leave it. In between, we were the Ron Burgundy in between each thing, you know, just keeping it all together. And we were just chatting, that's all we did. But it was great, and it flew. The time flew. We're there 6 hours really quickly.
Brilliant. Linking it all together. And I watched, I try not to watch the stuff I've put onto Facebook and YouTube, but it was nice to sit and watch the actual show, you know, because you put some class acts on there. Well, I know you had me on, but after me, you had some class acts that came on and done some.
I asked you to do it, which you kindly agreed to do, but the rest of the acts got the organisers, Big Rock Promotions, they got the other acts. All of the acts were brilliant.
It was fantastic.
Fantastic set, and the rest were sort of vocalists or musicians, which was great. So you and Kev were the comedy for the day.
But you know why I sat and watched Kev? Because I thought, I can always watch Kev over and over again. And what he'd done, I had no idea he was going to reference me at all. But I was sat on my couch, and we streamed this through our television when we watched the YouTube and Facebook show. I was streaming from my eyes, mate. He had me crying. When the subject is about you, it's even funnier, I think. But I was crying. I guess that's kind of how Simon Cowell might have felt when I stuck my hand up his puppet version of him. It must be a couple of tears. But Neil Warner, I met you. Was it 1998?
Yeah, 97, 98, I think it was. Haven at Weymouth Bay.
It was a Weymouth Bay. I remember you were my entertainment manager.
And you were cabaret.
Did I do every 2 weeks or something?
No, you didn't. I think in 97 you came as a replacement for someone.
That always happens to me.
And then I had you a few times in '98, if that makes sense.
You sound like the Haven mates.
We weren't a regular, if that makes sense, which is shame because it would have been great. But you came a few times in the season.
We kicked it off straight away, didn't we? We really, I took a shine to you because you made me laugh. And I remember coming just to watch Phil Walker one night because you said Phil's on. Right. You got a night off. Yeah. Come and watch Phil, and I did. I stood with you and watched Phil. He had the place in stitches. Love Phil.
Good act.
But you recommended that, and I loved it. First time I'd seen him as well. We bonded that season, didn't we? Yeah. And I did say bonded, not bondage. The others.
We also, you said, do you want to go up to London?
I did.
And watch a show. And I thought at first you meant a musical or something, but you actually meant Lee Evans. Yeah,
it wasn't actually a date. It wasn't a musical. Was you thinking I was coming on to you then, or?
I thought we were going to sit in the Royal Box and watch Miss Saigon and cuddle each other crying over a bag of popcorn, but we went to watch Lee Evans.
We spoke about comedy so much that season that we met that I thought, well, Neil's going to love this. Let's go to the Apollo and watch Lee Evans do his season there, and we did. And it was a great night. I've got a photo from that night. I took a picture of him.
I still have mine, that you took, and I'm guessing I took yours.
I took a picture of him right at the end of his show, and he looked up because I didn't realise my flash was on. But everybody looked at me because I flashed, and there's a picture of Lee Evans staring at me, and all of the people in front of me stared, and I should have took the flash off. But it was great because we spoke to him, and I remember his manager was there, and he was trying to get Lee in the car, but Lee just carried on talking to us, didn't he?
He was trying to get him away, wasn't he? But he just spoke to you a lot about the I don't know what you call the technique, the voice box.
The ventriloquist voice box, man in the box or something.
He did it on Graham Norton back end of last year. I don't know if you saw that. And he was just talking about that. And he was such a lovely, lovely fella. Because I remember a few years before I met you, a gentleman that runs Waterside Holiday Park in Weymouth, a guy called Mike James.
We know Mike, yeah. Mike. You know, mate.
All right, mate.
Actually, do you know what I was doing then? I was actually doing Mike. Well, I was doing Mike James doing Tucker then, because every time I talked to Mike, Tucker's name come up, and so I nearly went into Tucker.
Well, if you do Mike James, it's not difficult to go into Tucker, is it? It's just a similar sort of thing. A few years before that, I went to Bournemouth, Vic, to watch Jim Davison.
Okay.
And a similar thing to Lee. We were just near the bar at the end of the show having a pint, and Jim Davison come out, and we asked if we could have a photograph, and he was a bit grumpy about it, He was a bit, and we had the similar experience, which we'll probably get on to, when me and you went to Edinburgh, and you tried to speak to him then. He wasn't very...
It was... Do you remember that? I think there was a problem. The problem was, I bought this giant vegetable in Edinburgh that I didn't know what it was, but I said, let's get a picture of me holding this vegetable with some famous faces. And Jim Davison came out, and I said, Jim, can I get a picture of you with my new vegetable? And he didn't want to know. But do you know what? He was hanging about with a couple of mates who they became mates since that show, actually. And the Morecambe and Wise, who we saw that season. We'd just been to see them, and they met Jim Davison after the show and went off. That was brilliant. Ian and John T, yeah. But anyway, so I had a picture with Jim Davison, and I've got it somewhere, and when I'm holding up this big, I don't know, sweet potato or something. What was it, a yam? Was it a yam? What's all that about?
Yeah, it was just getting back to Lee, he was very approachable, and some people aren't like that. He didn't have to talk to us, he'd just done an hour and a half, 2 hour show, come off stage, got freshened up, and he was going on for some dinner or whatever, but he talked to us for about half an hour, didn't he?
Do you know what, he's got time for people. He's such a lovely guy, and I spent so much time with his dad and mum on ships. Lee's name would come up, but their son Wayne's name would come up as well, and Wayne is one of the funniest in the family, Shirley's funny. Shirley is really funny.
Is Wayne in the business then?
No, he's not. He doesn't want anything to do with it, and he's one of those naturally funny guys where you would just crack up. Lee says Wayne's the funniest in the family. Dave and Shirley says Wayne's the funniest. So you can imagine, if he got up on stage, it'd be a...
Well, I mean, you've got his dad, Dave, and Lee, and I don't know Wayne, and I don't know his dad, but if you've got three guys like that, it's just, what a place to live.
Yeah, I guess it's like Roy Walker, Phil Walker, and Mark Walker.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's comedy through the blood.
If you're coming through, it's in the blood, and it must be fantastic to come from a background like that, because a lot of... Like you say with Phil Walker and Mark and his dad Roy, you get other... I don't know if you remember a guy used to be on the Comedians years ago called George Roper.
Yeah, his son Matt. I worked with his son Matt once.
Yeah, his son Matt. The likes of Phil and Mark and Matt Roper, they are on the comedy circuit, as you call it.
Yeah.
Where, you know, there's a mainstream circuit where his dad would be and George Roper would have been in the day. They were on what they call the mainstream circuit.
Yeah.
And then the sons take the alternative route, as it were, you know?
Yeah, alternative up north.
The alternative route. It's funny.
It's crazy. It's different how it's gone, you know, because they were in the theatres, the variety shows, pantos, you know, these comedians from the 70s TV show, and then their sons come along, but they did take that route of stand-up comedy clubs and things. And Mark Walker did it as well.
They must have been there and watched their dads do these things night after night and just.
Oh yeah, the inspiration then must have just been.
You know?
Oh, it's brilliant. I watched my dad a lot, actually. I'm inspired by my dad. But if I said anything of what my dad said on stage, just being a dirty pub in the back in London or Basingstoke or somewhere, I wouldn't be able to say any of what my dad said. He inspired me really through music, my dad did. He's not in the business. He just swears a lot, and he used to be a farmer. Yeah, I'm inspired by my dad really by his cooking and his farmistry. Is that a word?
Farmistry. It is now. I like it. Farmistry by Terry Hewlett. It's a good book.
Have a little look at the dictionary. I want to get on that comedy countdown just to invent words. Nina said I can invent words. She said, if you come up with a new word, she said to me the other day, what is the word for actually talking as a ventriloquist when you relax your mouth and there's that relaxed state with the teeth and the tongue? I don't think there's a word. I mean, I'm writing a book on vent. I should know this. But I think I'm going to come up with a word that explains that relaxed state as a ventriloquist with the technique.
People must come up with words, and it's. I was watching a thing the other night, and it's been repeated many times, but it was about Peter Kay, you know, and they were talking about the way that he came up with. I know it's not necessarily a word, but he was the one that first said Tinternet. You say that now, everyone says it. Go on Tinternet and have a look. Everyone says Tinternet.
Yeah, they do.
And new words arrive, and it's just things like that.
Fambulance, yeah. Come in.
Fambulance, you know.
Yeah, so what I was talking about words. Nina said the other day about words. So she said with this ventriloquist state, she said you could come up with your own word, and they actually do put new words in the dictionary. Like you said, I'm sure Tinternet's in there now, isn't it?
I don't know, because it's an apostrophe word, isn't it? So I don't know if it is.
Did you see any other really funny acts there were some great acts on the comedy circuit, doing the Haven circuit around that time. I mean, I think people like Ian Sludge-Lees. Did you have any of those sort of acts?
Yeah, we had Ian Sludge-Lees. My time as Haven Ends manager, the regular acts we used to have as comp, we had a guy that me and you both know well called Jay McGee.
Yeah, oh, brilliant.
He used to do every other week, already.
Powerful,
and
yeah.
The alternative week to Jay was a guy called Russ Williams.
Brilliant, Russ. Bright suits.
So they were good acts. And then, but with my room, it was a very, very big room, so the comedy worked if you had a good act. And Jay and Russ used to kill the room. It was amazing. Every week they nailed it. But I mean, when I first started doing the parks, I was a blue coat with Pontins in Weymouth as well.
Were you a blue coat? Everyone I'm talking to on these podcasts were blue coats. Didn't know you were.
That's where they all start. I used to do the sound for a comic that we used to have on, and I was in awe watching him. You'll know when I tell you his name, you'll know it when you'll probably work with it, but he was immaculately dressed. He used to come on stage, and his delivery and his jokes and the I was absolutely in awe, and his name's Adrian Walsh.
Adrian's, he's a genius comedian. He'd done a lot of Des O'Connor TV shows.
A great act. And another guy we used to have at Pontins, and I know he's still going, and I know he does the shifts and stuff, and he's got an amazing singing voice, but his comedy was amazing as well, was Mike Doyle.
I'm just going to talk about Mike Doyle, because my first summer season in 93, Barry Island, he was there every week, and we all the blue coats, and I wasn't a Pontins blue coat, but I had a blue coat in Barry Island, and we would watch Mike Doyle storm the theatre, then they'd go and do the adult room, storm that as well, then they'd hang about. And he used to sort of hang about with all the blue coats at the end of the show, and we just used to listen to him talking.
We didn't have him regularly, but we had him occasionally. But we were an adults-only centre, a bit sort of Warner age.
Okay.
And
Neil Warner age.
He used to sit in awe and watch his act as well, because he was just his delivery and he was superb.
Yeah, it's really strange because the year after, in 94, I went to Isle of Wight, and his brother Phil Doyle was doing it every week. So I got to work with the two brothers. Do you have Phil as well?
We had him, when I was at Haven, we had him at owners' parties. We had him one year doing the comedy, and then the owners asked for him back the next year, so we had him the second year as well. So I've worked with him twice, but yeah, another good act.
Yeah, brilliant comedy and great voices on both of them as well.
I think it's a Welsh thing, isn't it, when it comes with a voice?
Yeah, but Tom Jones isn't very funny, is he? He can sing, but he's not very funny.
Well, how do you know? We've never seen him do stand-up. But
I've never laughed at Tom Jones. I've seen some old clips of him wearing them tight leather pants. I've laughed then. Do you know that gag where, and they've probably done it in like 98 season, said, I worked with Tom Jones when I was a kid. You know that little bulge in his trousers? That was me. That one.
That was funny. That's a great gag.
It's a good gag, that, yeah. I remember who done that. It might be Mickey Zaney or something. Yeah.
Another good act.
Yeah.
Another good act, Mickey.
I love Mickey, yeah. Yeah, you saw some great acts there. And as a Bluecoat, sort of watching these acts, well, I had Mike Doyle, Phil Doyle, Glenn M. Ford, and just trying to think, there's some great comedy visual acts. Like, there was one called, it's from the Isle of Wight. Trying to think. Crisco.
Did you have, who?
You ever have Crisco?
No, I've heard the name, but we never had them. We had a special act who was hilarious. Who was a magician, an illusion special act, but they were so funny, called Melton Mowbray.
Melton Mowbray was brilliant with the fire and the ladder, the big ladder.
And he walked up the ladder of swords at the end, but it was just he was a bit Tommy Cooperish, wasn't it? But
he was fantastic. I worked with him so much in the late 90s. I'd done a few showcases with him and his wife.
Right, okay.
They were brilliant.
Great act. And another act we had at Pontins, and you'll know who they are, was Powers and Jones.
Oh my God, yeah. I done Pot of Gold. I didn't do very well, but Powers and Jones won my episode that I actually went on, and I met Andy and what's his Dave. That's it. Yeah, Andy and Dave, lovely guys, brilliant.
We took them on a Sunday night, and most of the acts didn't stay because they were going off, but Dave and Andy used to stay because I think they were going somewhere Monday nearby. So we used to have a few shavers with Andy and Dave and had a good laugh.
I remember that. Really, yeah, I had a few nights hanging about after the shows with them, actually. We met up a couple times. I might have been at Waterside or something with Mike, but just really good acts. You know, when you go backstage and you see all the 10x8s up on the dressing room. I loved that. The by Crescent or Denman Repro.
That was exactly it.
You know what? I've still got mine. I always collected them, but I didn't nick them off the walls. I always asked for one when I was starting out, and I've got a Mike Doyle. I've got quite a lot.
I mean, when I was a kid, I never thought that years ahead I'd be.
You used to be a baby goat.
I wasn't a baby goat, no.
No. I can edit this, I can edit this.
You might need to. I never thought that I'd get into, I didn't sit there watching the likes of Morecambe and Wise, the two Ronnies, and think I'd love to do this when I'm older. Probably didn't even know what I was laughing at, but it made me laugh.
Funny is funny, isn't it?
Well, exactly, and it wasn't until I sort of watched, I think it was like Cannon and Ball and Russ Abbott, and I thought, you know what, I'd like to do something like that when I'm older.
Yeah.
And the variety show, where Morecambe Wise and all that was sketches and things, was funny, but with Russ Abbott, it had all the characters and things, he brought, it was more character comedy with him, and I went to see him live when I was a kid. I remember I saw Cannon and Ball and I saw Russ Abbott when I was really young, and I was just in amazement watching it live on stage. This is what I've been watching on the TV every Saturday night. I'm now sitting there watching it live. It was just amazing. Was
that just their own tour, or was it like a panto, or was it is it a cabaret club? Because up near you had Stardust, didn't you? The Leicester Stardust Club.
Leicester Stardust, yeah, but when I grew up in the North East, it was Newcastle City Hall.
Of course, you were up there.
You played with Stylistics, maybe? Or?
I supported the Osmonds at that whole big venue. I always got a couple up on the Osmonds tour, and I got this couple up, and literally they were there to party in Newcastle, and I wouldn't have wanted it any different, but both of them, this married couple, were off their faces, and I didn't know they were really drunk until I got them up, and it did not go my way, it went their way, whatever they wanted to. I was just worried they were going to fall off the stage, but yeah, I'm glad you moved to Leicester, because the gigs were easier.
But like I say, Stardust, when I first moved to Leicester, I went, do you remember, there was an agency, I think it was called JL, what were they called? Not JLS, that was a band. They used to book all the Haven acts and stuff.
B&H, Benson and Edges. Who?
No, weren't there either, no. It was J something there, JLA.
JLA, yeah.
Do you remember them? They used to have their showcase there.
Yes, I know.
Well, I went a couple of times and they had a cabaret dinner, and it was Pasquale. And my dad came down, and I took my dad and went to watch Pasquale. Had a bit of scampi in a basket thing, But there's just no venues like that anymore.
I love Scamping in a Basket. I mean, Lakeside was the last proper cabaret venue I worked in the UK. Was Lakeside Country Club, where you do get soup in a basket and all that, you know. And it's where they had all the darts, which is sadly finished. I mean, Bob Potter, bless him, is Lakeside Darts. That stopped, but I mean, he's mates with all of the comics. He had Mike Reed, Jim Davidson, Jeffro, Davro, you know, Pasquale, Conley.
When I was a kid, my granddad moved to Portugal, to the Algarve in 1965. And he had a few businesses. He bought a bar. Oh, there's something I found out this week. You like this, Steve? You like this story? My nan still lives out there. She's 94. She still lives in the Algarve. She told me a story the other day that when they went out there in 1965, obviously it's not like the Algarve you know now with hotels and all that. There's just little bits and bobs. And you used to have to put a reservation or an option on a house or a villa if you wanted to get it.
Yeah.
My granddad put this option on a house, but then they decided to go for another house. And Eric Morecambe bought the house that they were going to buy.
Wow. Brilliant.
I know, amazing, isn't it? But anyway, that's a bad to buy. But so my granddad bought.
It's not by Dubai, is it? I think Portugal was near Spain. It's not by Dubai.
It's by Dubai, near Spain. My granddad bought chairs in a nightclub.
Did he have tables as well, or just chairs?
Tables and chairs. It was like Lakeside is. And when we used to go on holiday, we used to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there, and then have a live band for dancing. And the cabaret when I was there was Clive Dunn.
No, Grandad, we love you.
Well, he came out dressed as Grandad, and then he went off. And then he came back out dressed as
Grandma.
Corporal Jones, not Grandma.
Really? Wow.
That's Corporal Jones. Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Yeah. But he had a bar out there as well, Clive Dunn. He owned a bar out there. But my granddad, back to the original thing, in the late 60s when he opened his bar.
Isn't that amazing that your granddad was kind of doing this before you, and he was bringing acts to his venue?
I don't know whether this was the thing, and it was in the late 60s when he opened his bar, he used to get these people in. So Eric Morecambe used to come in my granddad's bar, Tarbuck, Cliff Richard. I know he's not a comic, but all the acts of the day used to go into my granddad's bar because it was the only English bar, an English-speaking bar, if you want to say that. It was so he used to get them all in, and when I got told these stories when I was younger, I was like, okay, but now we're thinking back, amazing.
You wish you'd have listened. Yeah.
My idols and things like that, we used to go in there and drink with my granddad.
That's fantastic.
Amazing.
So we've stayed in contact over the years. I mean, that's 23 years now, mate. But we've had a holiday together. You want to tell everybody about our little trip to Scotland?
Well, I wouldn't call it a holiday, but not because it wasn't good. It was a great few days, but it was at the Edinburgh Festival, and we just went as spectators, as audience members, and it was you haven't got time to rest at the Edinburgh Festival.
Oh, it's exhausting. We needed a holiday after it, but wasn't it just brilliant? Bang, 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 wasn't it?
I mean, it was the first and the only time I've been, and it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, you'd been before and you told me all about it, but literally you get out of bed, you can watch comedy from when you get out of bed.
You've got to find the bed first. You've got to find the accommodation first before you can.
I'm not going to talk about that. Because
I just had the wrong bit of paper. I printed off the wrong one.
Let me tell your listener about this.
My listener? This is my mum. My mum's listening. Yeah.
Your Sharon, I'll tell you about it. She's heard the story because I told her your fault here.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah, well, yeah, thanks for that, by the way. I never thanked you for embarrassing me at 40 years.
You're welcome. We met at Edinburgh Airport because we were obviously flying up from different parts of the UK. And then you had all this paperwork. Yeah, if we get on this bus, we get off at this bus stop, walk around the corner, we're there. So we got off the bus stop, we walked, it wasn't there. Okay, on Google Maps, we walked. So I think we walked for about 45 minutes.
Yeah, exercise. Holiday, see?
Yeah, here we are, ding dong. Little old lady comes down, like Mrs. Down. Hello, dear, please come in. She's
very good.
In the front room drinking red wine. Look like a Pat Butcher look-alike.
Yeah, with some. She had some guests.
Steve who turned out to be a judge or a solicitor.
Yeah.
Steve had printed off the booking accommodation details from when he went 3 years previous, and that was the B&B he stayed at, not the one we should have been at.
Yeah, well, I couldn't find the original booking for that, so I went into my history and I googled Edinburgh accommodation, and I printed that one off.
Logical thing to do. Logical thing to do. If you can't find your accommodation, just print off when you went 4 years ago, because it'll be fine, won't it?
She did tell us where to go.
She rang the lady, yeah, we should be there. So we walked 45 minutes back again to where we got off the bus to where the accommodation was. The Jack D thing we saw was not a game show, was it? But it was
it was like a panel thing, wasn't it? Where he asks questions and.
Clive Anderson was one of the panel, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But that was good. and we also saw Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner with the guitar. He had a guitar.
Superb. And like you just said earlier, we saw Ian Astle and Johnny Stevens.
Morgan and Wise. Brilliant.
That was superb. I loved that.
Wasn't
I
it?
see that again when it came. Was it Nottingham last year or the year before that? I went again because it was superb.
Did they have the little dummy in it? They borrowed my dummy for that tour.
They had Charlie in it, yeah.
Little Charlie. Not your son.
It was a different show. It was a different show, wasn't it? I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah, it's great. And then we did some off-the-cuff stuff, didn't we? Because we had a few hours to spare, or an hour before we were going to see something else.
There was like opportunities to just pop in and say, someone would give you a leaflet and say 10 minutes time. This show was on. We went to see that brilliant Canadian. It was at Jared Christmas we went to see, didn't we?
Christmas, yeah. We came out of one at about 11 o'clock, and then there's a little box office thing, so we went and said, yeah, go around the corner.
What's on? We need more comedy. We were like comedy addicts. We would come out.
I mean, we even went in one bar. It was a pay what you want kind of thing, wasn't it? And there was only 4 of us in the audience. Remember, there was 2 girls that were doing like a character thing. That was very good.
That was the Edinburgh Free Festival, which is sometimes you will find little gems.
But you find things like that, you know, up-and-coming comics that you haven't... I remember years ago on the Royal Ride, they had a newcomer called Peter Kay on there.
Who?
And I loved him.
What's he done now?
I loved him. You remember it? He's done all right for himself. And then obviously he's just grown and grown and grown. But it's the best thing to do is go to these small comedy clubs. I mean, you've got one down where you are, down in Comedia, isn't it, down in Brighton? We have a good comedy festival in Leicester every year, which is superb. It's a brilliant Harvard gentleman called Jeff Rowe, not Jethro. Not Jethro.
What then for Penworthy? But does he? Yeah, does it have the same host on it, or it's more than one venue, isn't it? It's literally a festival all over Leicester.
Yeah, it's massive now. I mean, obviously started out very small, I think just in the university, if I remember rightly, 20 years ago, maybe.
Oh right, wow.
And now it's like you get a booklet like you do the festival guide at Edinburgh, so you can. It's got times and start times and finish times, so you can plan your whole day and night. Superb, but that's where you can go and see these smaller acts. Well, not necessarily smaller acts, which is just up and coming acts.
Well, no, they're free festival. They're just testing out their new shows, I guess. And
you do get a lot. Luckily enough, at Leicester, it's on in February, so you do get a lot of Edinburgh previews from the bigger comics. So they play smaller venues.
It's a great idea.
Try their Edinburgh stuff, which is great.
Neil, I remember you telling me once you were working at the Leicester Mercury, and a well-known face and sideburns entered the building. Can you tell me this story, which is hilarious?
You know the story, don't you?
I know the story, and I know you know
Who?
I would never
get again in my lifetime. And sometimes you get these moments to do things, and you just do it, and then kind of regret it at the end. But anyway, so yeah, I was working at the paper, and Englebert was there because they'd have a refurb.
Englebert who?
Englebert Humperdink was there because he's from Leicester, and he just came as a guest to see the refurb building, etc. Anyway, so I was walking back into the building as Englebert was walking into the building, and we'd had these revolving doors fitted, which you didn't need to push. They were sort of, censored, and once you were in, if you pushed them, they stopped for a few seconds. So I got in one segment, shall we say. Well, Englebert was in one segment, and I got in another segment. And then Englebert pushed it because obviously he wanted to go a bit quicker to get in. So it stopped, and he had to look around. I'm laughing because I know what's coming. And he was looking around, and then I just sort of went, "Please release me, let me go." And he didn't find it funny. So
did he not laugh? No.
So I died on my arse in front of Englebert Humperdink, which I can proudly say I did.
Oh wow, brilliant! He's
chances very often, do you? They do comedy.
No,
live,
you don't.
Like that.
In the trapdoor. That's fantastic. What a story! Oh mate, I cried when you first told me that. It's still such a funny story because it sounds like an obvious thing, and you don't really believe it. Yeah. It happened, but it did happen to you.
When do I get the opportunity to sing "Please Release Me" to Englebert Humperdink? I'm trapped in a revolving door.
I mean, if he. What other song could it have been? Do you know what I mean? If he sung The Locomotion, if he's famous for that, it wouldn't have worked. It was just the perfect moment. Which one?
Last Waltz wouldn't have worked, would it? So.
Last Waltz. Well, it would have done if they kept going round and round. You could have just danced with him for an hour.
I was just spinning with Englebert.
Oh, I love it, mate. I got to work with him once on a TV show. Alan Titchmarsh's show, and he was he was so lovely. And backstage we had a little chat. His manager said He said, "Oh, where do you work and stuff? Do you work Vegas?" And I said, I got married in Vegas, so I want to go back one day to get the money back. But he did say, Englebert said, give him my card. And he said, I'll get you a job out there. And so, like 2 weeks later, I emailed Englebert's management in Vegas. I never heard back, but the gesture was there. It was lovely to have that offer from the man himself.
You've been in the business a long time, and then do that Last Laugh in Vegas series when they bring that back.
Yeah, well, I'll work another 40 years and go for that. I'm audition now and do it in 40 years.
We'll just wait. That might be your next job, mate.
Oh, I see. Oh, yes. It'd probably be all of our next job, wouldn't it? God, waiting to get to Vegas. So you started to review quite a lot of the shows. What's some of the best shows that you did?
I reviewed a gentleman called Simon Donald.
Yeah.
Now, people probably don't know the name unless they're well in with the comedy circuit. They will know who he is, but he was the guy who founded Viz. Well, adult comic is supposedly the best way of describing it.
Yeah,
he founded Viz, but he's a very, very good comic, and he does character stuff as well.
Yeah, was he a writer then? Did he write for Viz? Did he do all the comic strips and things?
He did the cartoons. He drew the cartoons and wrote him and his brother.
See, that's the sort of thing I'd love to see, mate. I love to sort of go behind the scenes and see something like that. And didn't we see an American sitcom comic come over here? It was one of the last shows we watched on that trip.
In Edinburgh. We did, but I can't remember his name. You recommended that one. But
I thought he was all right.
He was very good. He was very good.
Oh, what was he from? He was from the American. He was from the American Office.
Was he from the Office?
He's from the Office, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. I couldn't remember. Should I say?
We'll have to Google that, and I'll add it later.
add it to the.
It's rude. It's rude to talk about someone and not know their name. I know,
but it was very good. I remember that one.
I was saying that to what's his name the other day. The comedian from Edinburgh Festival, I couldn't think the name of, was BJ Novak, and he was in the American Office, also an actor in Glorious Bastards and Saving Mr. Banks. Very good actor. And he'd done a pretty good stand-up lecture as well. It was a lecture about his work, and he's written a book. So check him out. BJ Novak. Yeah, but Edinburgh Festival, I mean, this is the first time I think it's never been on. 2020 is just a disastrous, erased year, really, for most people. But
I know you've seen it because I noticed that you'd liked the tweet earlier on, but I'm going to read it out, but I'll mention his name. A comic called John Martin, Scouse comic.
I love John. He writes great gags every day, in lockdown.
And really good comment, but he put something on Twitter earlier which really made me laugh, and it said that the government have now said that if you wear glasses and are forced to wear a mask, you may be entitled to compensation.
yes. I saw that. It's brilliant. I always give John a little bit of a like or a share or a retweet because he's so funny, and I'm blessed these acts that are so talented and funny, and they're sat at home just itching to get back on the stage. I spoke to John a couple of weeks ago and we had a lovely chat. He's got a great mind on him. He wrote for Doddy,
I know, yeah. He wrote a book about Doddy as well, didn't he? I've got that right? Have I got that wrong?
I'm not sure if he's written a book for him, but he does write books. He's an author of some quite dark books, actually, about history of the war, Great stories. Really good. Is it Heimlich? Not Heimlich. No, that's the Heimlich maneuver I'm thinking of. Yeah. I think he talks about a Nazi in one of them or something. Yeah, really good comedy. So it's...
Yeah, kicks up beat. That's the best way to do
it. Yeah.
There's no better way, is there?
We've got quite a similar humour that we love to listen to. I was listening to Steve Coogan in the bath last night, and he weren't in the bathroom. He was being interviewed, and is he one of your passions? I know Alan Partridge is just great.
I was thinking about this when you asked me to do this podcast thing with you, and I think back to when I was sort of early teens. I remember that Steve Coogan was just coming around with sort of Paul Carth, and it's all sort of, you never see Steve Coogan just do stand up as Steve Coogan. He's always character comedy, which is fantastic. And I also remember, on a similar vein, that there was Rowan Atkinson did a tour in the 80s, and it was all characters and sketches.
Oh, it's brilliant. I think I've seen part of that. Yeah,
it's superb, and it's the same with Steve Coogan. His characters are brilliant, but I love Steve Coogan. I love Partridge, and even the earlier stuff with Paul Carth and Pauline Carth, and
Oh, just so funny. Do you watch The Trip with him and Bryden?
I do, yeah, I love it. I love The Trip.
Have you seen Bryden do his voice in the box?
Yes.
I do not get the next place because I can't get out. And they told me I got the okay to get out of that. Did you understand any of that?
No.
Nah. Oh, it was kind of what it
Good,
does.
isn't it?
Yeah, I went on Twitter when Ricky Gervais was on Twitter, and I asked him if he could ventriloquize. And
I saw it.
did you see when he replied? He started to do that man in the box, didn't he?
He tried to do the man in the box, yes.
Yeah.
He didn't do it very well, but he tried.
No, like what I just did. I just did it badly.
He his cheeks out, didn't he? I don't know why he did that.
Yeah. No, I have seen just recently on America's Got Talent, a young lady came out and she sang a song like it with Man in the Box, but she sang a song and she looked like a very serious, like an accountant. I think she had a serious job. And she said, yeah, I just got this talent and I want to share it with the world. And she came out and she goes, she started singing Celine Dion's "Heart Will Go On" with the man in the box.
Yeah, was it serious? Wasn't a comedy act.
It was supposed to be serious. She never smiled once, but she got buzzed off, so they stopped the song. I thought it was hilarious. Simon Cowell waved her off, but he said, "But that was very funny," because she's not going to get to the final. Really, you got to learn the words. You can't understand what they're saying. We were talking about Rob Brydon. He's great. Steve Coogan, brilliant. Have you seen? There's something brand new came on. Yeah, you mentioned Lee Mack, and I'm just going to go. Have you seen the new pilot for his new sitcom?
This week, isn't it?
Yeah, that looks brilliant. That was mayhem.
I've got Mandy in my head, but there's I can't remember her name. There's a comedian, or she's in Afterlife, but she's got a sitcom coming out as well, and I don't know if it's that one.
Oh, is she?
What's her name? You know
she's in that.
She's in Afterlife.
Royce and Connerty.
No, not her. It's the other woman. I can't remember her name. And she works at the paper. She's got the glasses.
Oh yeah, Diane Abbott. Is it? No, not Diane Abbott. That's no.
She's in a sitcom. I don't know if it's the same one.
That's the Danny Postil voice, isn't it? That one. That's
Danny Postil Abbott.
Her name's Diana Summit. Diane.
Morgan.
She's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, the Lee Mack thing. Is that not a series then? Is that just a pilot?
No, it is. It was a pilot. It was a teaser, and it was on for 20 minutes the other night. And I sat there. Nina was still putting the kids to bed, and I thought, I'm going to watch this, and I did. And it is brilliant. It's Lee Mack at his best. Yeah. But it was like one family, and then neighbours get involved, and everything goes wrong. And what's his name from The Office? The boss that comes down from Slough, he's in Slough. Neil. Neil turns up and he ends up naked and then he loses a finger. It's just mayhem.
You think about Lee Mack, who started out as a blue coat.
There you go again, another blue coat.
But he's a comic, and then his sitcom Not Going Out is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's probably on about series 11 or 12 now, and you think...
Do you like it with the kids? Do you like it? I like
it.
I think when it first started with the kids, I didn't know if it still had that twang.
I think it works because he's brought in the next door neighbours, and I can't remember his name, the guy from Mock the Week.
Oh, we love him. Me and Nina love him. Brilliant.
And Bobby Ball plays his dad.
Yeah.
And it's just...
That's great.
There's so much, but I say that's run. And some people, like Gervais, doesn't do that, does he? He's broken the rule with Afterlife because he's doing a series 3, but... Yeah. He just did 2 series in a special for everything he's ever done, apart from, like I said, now Afterlife 3 is going to be about. So. Yeah,
it's all it needs, isn't it? He knows what he's doing, but I think
Gervais followed I don't know whether it was the idea, but Baldy Towers, there was only 12 episodes, wasn't there?
Yes.
Of Baldy Towers, but I don't know whether that was intentional or they just thought, we'll
just run out of ideas.
But it works, doesn't it? Because great comedy to me is something that I can put on the telly and I still laugh. Like Fools and Horses, I can do that with.
Oh,
Towers,
always.
The Gervais stuff, Office Extras, all of that, I can always watch again and again and again, and I'll laugh. I laugh at the Royal Family, not the Queen, Your Majesty, but my house Royal Family. I love that as well, and it's just that to me is great comedy. If you can personally, I can put something on and still laugh, even though I know the punchlines come in. Do you know what? I'll tell you a little story here. When I was a kid, Fawlty Towers obviously was on in the 70s, but must have been rerun in the 80s, and my dad used to recorded them and had them on a cassette. And he put them all nicely together. So there was 2 cassettes of Fawlty Towers, and I used to watch it over and over again as a kid. It wasn't until years later that I realised that my dad, in his wisdom, used to stop the recording so he had enough room on the tape to get all 6 on. He cut off the punchlines. It wasn't until years later, and I was watching them, I'm thinking, hang on a minute, what's this bit? Me and my brother were amazed that there was an extra minute and a minute and a half of Fawlty Towers that we'd never seen.
Oh, you're joking. That's brilliant.
No, you missed the punchlines every time. Fantastic, though. But,
so your dad's not one comedy stalwart then? He's not really... You don't realise there's an end to every joke?
No, I don't think so. But I remember he used to have that on. We used to have that on, and my dad got me watching... did you remember Cheers? The American...
Yeah, loved it. Yeah, thank you for being a friend. I've got a mug from there.
Go to the pub with his mate on a Friday night, and that's when it used to be on Channel 4.
Yeah.
My dad used to record it, and then we used to watch it the next day, and I used to love it.
But did he cut the end of Cheers off as well?
No, of course he didn't, because it was only one programme that he would record over. It was something else, see, but he was keeping Fawlty Towers.
Ah, okay, yeah.
That was in a special one.
He never done that to you, did he? He used to come out to see your show and leave 5 minutes before your show finished, did he?
He used to close the curtains just before
Dad, there's a big gag at the end. You've missed it. Oh, sorry. So I recorded it.
You need to close the curtains on me.
Oh, bless.
But, what was the last... I'm going to put a question to you, seeing as we're doing it. What was the last stand-up you went to see live?
Oh, mate, you're going to hate me. It was Jerry Seinfeld.
Was it? I don't remember you going, actually.
That's a good question, Jerry Seinfeld was... I mean, if there was no lockdown, it would have been Tom Binns. Me and Nina were booked to see him in April. But it wasn't. It was Jerry Seinfeld, and I had to drive back. No, I was flying back from London to London, and I was on a cruise, and I saw that Jerry Seinfeld was in London. I thought, I need to watch Jerry Seinfeld. And I think I missed 20 minutes of the beginning because I literally came from Heathrow no, it was Heathrow. Then I drove from Heathrow to the Apollo, Hammersmith, parked up, and I got there and I just missed the support act and Jerry had just walked on. But I got in there and I laughed for an hour. The audience were in stitches. Oh, he's a master. But yeah, Jerry Seinfeld was the last I saw. The next one I'm going to see is Eddie Izzard next week because he's down in, he lives in Bexhill, 10 miles from here. And he's just launched yesterday. He just launched, not a rocket to Mars. That's someone else. He's just launched some stand-up shows, Wonderbar, which I think he was doing last year. But I've not seen that yet. So me and Nina are going to watch that next week.
Fantastic.
And it's 100 people on the roof of the Bexhill Pavilion.
Oh, okay.
Under the moonlight. Would be nice.
There's a song there. Under the moonlight.
Well, there's not a song there. That wasn't a song, was it? It wasn't.
I've got nothing else planned.
Have you not?
Not at the minute. Last comic I went to see was Rob Beckett.
He's great. I was listening to Rob speaking on a podcast of Matt Morgan. Matt Morgan.
Well, it was a work in progress. I went to.
Okay, nice. A lot of the tours are called that, aren't they, these days?
Yeah.
It's come up with something original. I'm going to call mine Rehearsal. I'm going to call my next tour Sold Out. And just so it'll look good. There'll be no one in, will there? Because, try to get tickets.
Yeah, that's the last one I went to, and I've got nothing else planned to go and see.
But you've done great. You were with Ian Hunt. You've done great on that show the other week. That was good fun.
Yeah.
It shows that people want to laugh as well, because the feedback was great, wasn't it? People want to laugh.
Yeah, we had a good time, and hopefully everyone else enjoyed it. So, I work with Ian a lot for various things, and Panto, me and Ian do Panto, and that's hanging in the balance for this year. We don't know whether that's going ahead or not yet. We don't know, but we shall see. Yeah,
you're always playing the comedy character. What's your favourite comedy part to play in Panto? Because they do differ. I know they've got different names, Muddles and Puddles and Buttons.
It's a very similar role each time, but
yeah.
I think I like Cinderella. I'm not playing Cinderella, but playing Buttons because
yeah, Buttons is. I've never done a Buttons. Yeah, but
you get good scenes with the ugly sisters and that kind of thing, and then he falls in love with Cinderella, and then you get the audience on your side when she fancies the prince and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I love doing the comedy roles in Panto. It's such good fun.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I came up to see you 2 years ago. I think it was, wasn't it? That was great.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and it's great. I mean, but hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, whatever I'm doing, that we go ahead for this year. But we don't.
Would you? Yeah. Do you think you would, even if it's going to be January or maybe even February, you'd still do the same panto you were planning to do this year? You think Nigel's got that idea? If it's all okay to go ahead, or
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we've done it. We did an Easter one a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It's whether or not we move, because obviously, well, we're doing. The plan is to do Cinderella this Christmas, because some pantos you can do in the, people think Christmas, but they don't have to mention Christmas, do they? And it's one of those things we might do it at Easter. I don't know.
Well, panto never do. They never really do mention Christmas, do they? It just seems to be an annual thing.
It's one of those things, yeah. That I don't know where it must have came from back in the day that it was staged at Christmas, but. Yeah, there's no mention of Christmas in the show, is there?
Yeah, it's very sad because I was listening to the radio today, like BBC Radio 2, and it was the first time I've heard them mentioning panto not happening this Christmas, and it was like, wow, what a thing.
There was a thing on BBC Breakfast this morning, Imagine Theatre Company. They were showing them their warehouse, going around the warehouse, and the chat was saying, well, this is normally busy, we're normally getting things ready to go there, we're normally sending costumes out for press launches and things like this, and it was just like a ghost town. It was quite sad.
Yeah, it is. It's horrible. Eyes and Teeth. The book I'm reading at the moment, I'm just going back to comedy. I'm reading Lenny Henry's. He's doing like a 3-part book thing, I think. So, the one he's just released is Lenny Henry, Who Am I Again? I started reading that because I heard him talking to... who's I keep bringing people up and I don't know their names. So Louis Theroux, and Louis's podcast is brilliant. He actually interviews Lenny Henry, and it's quite rare to get Lenny Henry. But Lenny talks really nicely about working with Keith Harris, which was nice. So so I got Lenny's book, and he talks about Keith in it quite a lot. So it's a nice.
Was that on his book then?
That's in Lenny Henry's book. Yeah, it's a great book.
Did he work with Keith on Tiswas, or was that something else?
He worked with him on the Minstrels shows. There's some TV shows.
Did they do a summer season in Blackpool together? I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah. They've done a couple of shows together, Keith and Lenny. And they really got on. They used to go out clubbing and everything. And
well, at the minute, I'm reading Tommy Cooper, Always Leaving Them Laughing.
Oh, is that book? Yeah, John Fisher.
John Fisher, yeah. I mean, obviously I've seen it, because we are probably like me, and I like to go in charity shops and look for these kind of books.
I went into a lovely second-hand bookshop yesterday. The kids waited outside. Actually, Nina just popped in, and there was a children's section, and she bought them about 10 books. And I bought myself 3 Spike Milligan classics. So, yeah,
We've got enough Spike Milligan books.
All about Spike. And I.
You must have, in the words of Ronnie Barker, you probably got all he ever wrote.
All what I wrote, yeah.
The play What I Wrote. One of the best things I've ever seen Spike Milligan when he picked up a comedy award. I think he got a Lifetime Achievement once.
I love this story. Yeah, I watched this the other day with Nina.
It's brilliant. And they play the clip from, or they read a letter out from Prince Charles, and he just says "Grocken bastard" at the end of it.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's so funny.
But I happened to watch the other week the Bob Monkhouse thing, his final ever stand-up.
Yeah.
When all the comics start watching him.
Oh yeah, I heard about this recently. Yeah, I have seen it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it was on again. I happened to come across it. It must have been on BBC 4 or something. It was brilliant, and it's just, you look at Monkhouse and you think he knew how to work it and knew what he was doing, and very, very clever writer was Monkhouse.
He wasn't to do your last gig in front of a room full of comics. Must have been one of the hardest things, but
his idea, apparently, it was his idea, and he invited, because they speak to some of the comics, it was like a documentary thing, and they speak to some of them, and they're like, I didn't know that Bob knew who I was. You know what I mean? I think it's I can't remember which comic it was. Maybe even John Culshaw sort of said, I didn't even realise that Bob Monkhouse knew who I was. And then I get a phone call to say, would you like to come? It's only a small little comedy club, but it's
yeah. No, it's brilliant. It's a great little TV show. And I know one of them comics that were in the audience. I was speaking to a comic who was telling me about another comic that was there, and he said it's the funniest comedian he's ever seen, and it was the funniest show he'd ever seen.
You can go with that, couldn't you? You could quite understand it. Monkhouse was genius. He used to, when he presented, a little secret here, when he presented the lottery back in the late 90s, he used to present the National Lottery Show. And when I was the ends manager at Haven, so the new guests would arrive on a Saturday, and the lottery show would be on about 7, 8 o'clock. And Monkhouse used to do about 3 or 4 gags that he'd written that week from that week's news.
Yeah.
And I used to write those gags down and go up to the clubhouse, and when they introduced me on, I used to do those 4 gags.
Oh, nice. Because you knew they were gags that worked. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it was from that last week of news, you know. And I always did, I always at the end of when I did the gags, I'd say, "Thank you, Mr. Monkhouse." After I'd done it, I always used to say that at the end. So I wasn't, technically I was nicking his gags, but I always...
Yeah, there's sometimes a line I'll do that's probably maybe Roger de Courcy's or Ron Lucas. And at the end of it, Arthur Largo would turn around and say, Roger de Courcy, 1978, or Ron Lucas, 1992. Do you know what I mean? So it's nice to give him a little nod afterwards, but get your laughs first.
Get your laughs, but yes, I used to do that every Saturday, the summer season, Bunkhouse. Write the gags down and up on stage and do them.
I was saying about my Lenny Henry book. What sort of books have you got in your collection? We got quite a lot of the same books, haven't we?
They're all autobiographies. I don't have any fictional or non-fictional. Every book I own is autobiography.
Yeah, you're very much like me.
You know, Frank Skinner's down there, Barker, Tommy Cooper, 2 Ronnies. Yeah, everything is autobiographical.
Yeah.
And it's either music or comedy.
Is that Sue Barker? Is that book?
No, she's not there. She's a tennis player.
Ronnie Barker, is it? Okay, yeah.
I must have read that book so many times, All I Ever Wrote, with all the scripts and that in it. I think you've got a copy of it. I know you have.
I have got it. Yeah, it's a great book. It's brilliant. I got a few of the 2 Ronnies in there.
Well, I've also reading one that you sent me the other day by Lenny Windsor with sort of...
Oh yeah, did you get it? I forgot I sent that. That's funny.
It's not really probably the thing to say on a podcast, but it's my toilet read at the minute.
It depends how long you're in the toilet for and what you're doing. But did you run out of toilet paper, or was it just to read?
No, I'm not using it for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm reading it.
Yeah, don't use that one. That's signed. I've got one that's not signed by Lenny.
My book collection is just comedy. I love reading it and hearing where people come from, and you know.
Yeah, I do. I learn a lot by that, and you find out, and I'm sure you'll get this as well. You feel kind of similar to a lot of them. Like starting out, we started out the same way, and we tried out some gigs and died on our backsides, and and we do have similar. You know, we're all blue coats and stuff.
There's not many, you know, even now when people go on talent shows, comics and stuff, that it's not their first step on stage. They'll do some gags. They've been doing it a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like this back in the day, New Faces, Opportunity Knocks and things like that, that was where comics used to... Nowadays, you don't see comedy on TV as in you used to with the variety shows. I mean... No,
if you watch the America's Got Talent, they've got a comic on nearly every week or every episode. And yeah, they love their comedians over there at the moment.
But there's no platforms for them on our TVs for comics, is there? There's no...
Not here, no. Just panel shows. Do you still like the panel shows?
But even like game shows like 3, 2, 1, it was platforms, but there's nowhere for it. It's like you say, it's panel shows, countdown, 8 out of 10 countdown on Mock the Week, and that's it.
Yeah, you've got to be that alternative comedian, haven't you? You've got to be on that agency, that Channel 4 agency.
Yeah, that's right. Why are the Apollo? You've got to be with that right agency to be on that, you know, because why isn't Bill Walker on live at the Apollo? Why isn't, you know...
There's some great acts, mate, that we've worked with. Just brilliant acts that should be doing, you know, bigger things. And I think there still is a little bit of not a crossover. There are some crossovers that can do all of it, but the mainstream and alternative is still a little bit separated at the moment, isn't it?
I think there's a big difference. Yeah, I think there is.
One of the few is, I just spoke to him, Tom Binns, does cruise ships, comedy clubs, theatres, TV, does a bit of everything. And it's not easy actually winning over them audiences in every genre.
No, I agree. He's class act.
I have a little look. I've just watched something he told me about. He's got this new character. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a guinea pig. It's called...
I've seen it. I've not clicked on it yet, but I've seen
Nibbles.
Is it a ventriloquist dummy or is it an actual...
Oh, no, it's a real guinea pig. It's real.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and it's...
Like your daughter, you used to get his daughter doing gags. Did you ever see those things?
Yeah, she's brilliant. I would let my kids watch that. She's so funny, yeah.
But yeah, it's Tom Binns is a great example of doing that can work any audience. And you look at, you know, you put little bits of autobiography on your Facebook and stuff, but Jeff Stevenson put a little autobiography over a few weeks on his. And you think back to when Jeff, who was a great comic, and what he's done, and then I don't know how many years ago he had to sort of reinvent himself to do the Jongleur circuit. Yeah,
it's brave to do that. Bit of work.
Come back to, you know, just to get the work in. It's incredible that a guy like that, comic like that, had to reinvent himself to get work in the comedy clubs.
Yeah, definitely. It's brilliant and brave, and I've seen him on cruise ships. He's killed them on cruise ships, and he can come back and he can do Jongleurs, or when Jongleurs was going, but he can still do it after dinner speaking. And Jeff's done it all though. He's had his own TV show.
But yeah, he's a very, very funny guy.
Comedy. I'm just thinking, comedy DVDs. I've sent you a couple in the past, and it's because I've sat down and I've sent some of them that I've liked and watched all of. I just thought, I'll send that to Neil. We'll like that. And I've sent a couple to you that I've actually not enjoyed, and I've switched off after 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, controversial.
And sadly, one of them's John Richardson. Now, I enjoy some of his banter on the panel shows, but I bought his DVD thinking maybe I'll like him more doing his stand-up, and I switched it. I just couldn't get into him. I don't know why that is.
I like John Rich.
You like John?
You'll probably forget this, but when we were in Edinburgh, we had a gap, and I said, should we go and see him? I like him. And you didn't like him, so we didn't go.
Oh my God, was he on? Wow.
John Richardson, listen, there's another comic. I remember his name. I'm just seeing if you remember. But I said, look, should we go and see him if we've got time? And you went, I don't really like him. I was like, okay, fair enough. We'll go and see someone else. Mark Watson. Oh, yeah.
Do you know he's the other one? I sent you a DVD of him because after that Edinburgh, I felt really bad saying that. I felt really... So I bought his DVD when I got back, and then I sent it to you because after 10 minutes, I turned it off.
You don't like him. You don't like him. You know what I mean? It's one of those things.
Well, it's not I don't like the person. It's just I can't get into some of the comment. I mean, John Bishop's a great comedian. I've watched a few of his DVDs, but I find it really hard to listen to him talking. I can't understand his talking sometimes. That was me trying to do him, and it just.
I thought it was Lily Savage. Sorry, mate.
No, so what it is, I just thought John Bishop. I found it really hard to understand what he's saying. So what I did do, and I always try and give him a second chance, I bought his biography, and I couldn't read his writing.
Brilliant. I love that gag.
How do you know it's a gag? Probably one of my favourite gags that I've written, that one. Neil, what have you written gags? Tell me your favourite gag that you've...
You put me on the spot. I've got no idea.
I was going to tell you the first gag that I wrote, and I know where I was. I was in a caravan in Halen Island, and there's no link to where I was when I wrote it, because it sounds like I've looked down and written a gag. No, it's not. But I was in a shower, and it was 15, probably more than 15 years ago. And this is the joke, and it's I'm not talking to that presenter. That Neil Warner. Why not? Because he insulted my singing. Why would he do that? Well, he told me I sung like a donkey. And I say, were you getting changed? He went, yeah. I said, he didn't say sung like a donkey. I wrote that gag in the shower.
I've heard you do that gag lots, and it's a great gag.
Yeah, I wrote that, and it still works, you know. And I'm thinking, very proud. Most of my good gags that I thought I'd written had been written by Nina. She said, no, I gave you that. I went, oh, did you?
Brilliant.
Yeah, but she's written a lot of gags. I love...
You and Nina are probably like David Brent and Gareth when he says, yeah, I heard you using that. That's one of mine. I wish you hadn't.
Yeah, we're like that. She claims a lot of my material now, actually. I think she knows I've got a bad memory, and she's just telling me that she wrote it. But
great.
Yeah. The last gag. You want to hear the last gag I wrote?
Yeah.
Do you know that this is not really a gag because it's actually happened? Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry had a baby a couple of weeks ago. And I read in the paper last week that they want the baby to name itself. And I thought that was ridiculous. But I actually looked on Twitter before I came on stage. And the name of the baby's actually on Twitter. And the name of the baby is... Bloom.
Brilliant. Are you using it?
Well, Pontins and Butlins have heard it. And I think they're laughing. I do reference it later in the show. And I say... Oh, what's that Katy Perry's baby called? And they all start doing the baby cry and like blowing raspberries at me. So they're listening. They get it, I think.
I've heard some good gags during this time. I can't say I've wrote any, but I've heard some great gags.
What's the best gag that you've heard? And I'll tell you mine.
With COVID, I've heard two, which I love. One is when I was a kid, you used to cough to cover up a fart. Now with COVID-19, you fart to cover a cough.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, I've seen that around.
And another one I heard, was there's a baby boom 9 months from now. What will happen in 2033? There'll be a whole bunch of quarantines. I love that. I love that.
I try and write every day. It just keeps your mind fresh, and I can't. That's why I can't learn my act, because I'm adding to it all the time.
Gags on the time.
Yeah, and so, but I watch so much comedy, and I think Thursday, is it Thursday?
Today?
Yeah, tonight is the launch of that new Lee Mack sitcom. Put that in your planner. Yeah, you do that while I tell you my favourite gag, and.
Well, I've been talking to someone all afternoon about comedy. I'm just going to go for a walk and get my head down.
Let me tell you that gag then before we go.
Tell me your gag then before we go. Go on.
Yeah, this is the gag that I love. You would have heard it. You'll know it. And it's years ago, people used to go to the circus to see the fat tattooed lady. Now they're everywhere.
I love that gag.
I do. And I love how the comedians, they don't laugh. They just go, that's a good one. Yeah, I love that one. Do you know what? I think it is Mick Miller, yeah.
One of my favourite gags is a Mick Miller gag, and he says, people ask how I got started in the business, and he said, I used to be in the circus. He said, I didn't have an act. I was the only one that could get the tent back in the bag.
Yeah. Oh God! I remember telling Paul Adams now. Paul asked me my favourite gag, and I told him that gag, and I was going, "Oh, I'm sure that gag is Lee Mack's. I'm sure it's Lee Mack's, but I think it is Mick Miller, isn't it?"
I think it is Mick Miller. It's a great gag.
Funny man, funny men. Yeah, it's good to be funny. We need comedy in a time like this, mate. So it's.
Well, you do, but we'll soon be back to normal. I'm wondering. Remember 2020? Do you remember that? Wow. That year,
remember the COVID years. I've got a folder. Everything I've done online in the last 4 months, I've put into a folder, but I thought it needs a name. So I've called it COVID Creations. And it's literally got all the song words to 1 meter Rita, 2 meter Peter, We Are the World, all of that planning that we've done from March. That you were in We Are the World. Remember that?
Yeah. Now the pubs have opened. I've seen a few people have sort of saying, well, the pub got shut down because the landlord had a bad case of corona.
That's good. One of the best nights I had in the last couple of years was going to a David Brent movie premiere. Thank you to you and Matt Simpson. But that was brilliant, mate. Just to actually watch a Gervais movie being introduced by him and his band. And wasn't that a great night?
It was very surreal, wasn't it? Because me and you are just me and you, and we walked down the red carpet at the London Square.
Yeah, just being Steve and Neil and Steve,
and then we got to our seats thinking, because we were upstairs at the Odeon in Leicester Square. I don't know if anyone's ever been in there, but it's massive.
Right.
We were upstairs.
It's huge.
All I remember from that point when we sat down, it was either me tapping you or you tapping me going, look who's there.
Look who that is.
Look who that is. And we were surrounded by Ricky Wilson from the Character Chiefs, we had Professor Green, we had
Professor Green.
Piper, from the In-Between.
Spandau Ballet, who's Martin Kemp.
But yes, it was such a good night, and like I say, a thank you to Matt, because it was brilliant, and it was such a surreal but great night.
It was brilliant, and then I went home, and then 20 minutes later I got this little ping on my phone, and then Neil Warner sends me a photograph with him and his new mate. Who was that bloke in that photo, mate?
It was Ricky Gervais, because I was going back to Leicester with Matt. We said we'd go back on the train together because I was from Leicester. And Matt said, you could only have a +1 to the party, and you, being you, very kindly said, just go, Neil. We could have done that.
We could have done that thing that I've seen this in sitcoms or something where, or in movies where you put a big coat on and someone gets on someone's shoulders. But we're both 6 foot tall, so it wouldn't have worked. But yeah, we'll just come as one.
Yeah, so you said, just go. So I went, and I spoke to Gervais, and he was very humble and he asked me what I thought of the movie, and I told him, and I said it was really good, and he kind of needed reassurance, really, honestly. I was like, yeah, really good. And I spoke to the late Keith Chegwin was there.
Was he late? Did he get there late?
I don't remember. I don't know if you. Wes Dennis was there, spoke to him.
Brilliant.
And it was, and Rossine, I was talking to her for a while, who he uses a lot, and it was so great. It was such a good night. And when we were going, we were going to catch a train back to Leicester, me and Matt said, let's just go and say goodbye to Ricky. went over and Ricky said, go and grab yourself a drink for the way home. So no, I'm all right. So take a bottle of red wine. So he made me take a bottle of red wine from the Ivy, which probably was about 100, however many pounds a bottle.
Nice. You know what? I've heard how nice Ricky is. You know, I've heard how.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Hopefully, see him at the Palladium.
Well, it's been brilliant, mate. Thank you, Mr. Warner.
I hope your listener enjoyed it. You're, as always, you have been a disabled mongoose. In the words of Bob Mortimer, have a cappuccino on me and I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks, Neil. See you soon, mate.
See you soon, mate.
Take
Bye-bye.
care, bud.
Eyes and Teeth.
Thanks to Neil. If you would like to know more, then please look up at Entertainer Neil on Twitter, Neil Warner on Facebook and Instagram. This week's quote comes from Ricky Gervais, very apt after today's chat. Laugh at whatever you find funny. Don't laugh at things you don't find funny. It's really simple. There's no argument. Well said, Mr. G. Eyes and Teeth is written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Vocals by Rich T, Nina, Lola and Larissa Hewlett. Thanks to our cuckoo clock for always joining in. And our wonderful jingles and music by Kevin Dean. In the next edition, I'm talking to an artist mentioned earlier by Neil for his tweets. A brilliant Liverpool comedy writer, comedian and author, lecturer, John Martin. See you then.